applications. Second one, learn about and apply proper sentence form throughout the resume document. So truly, the writing good sentences is the main target, and it's the main thing that is going to make your resume stand out. Okay, so the content in your sentences are important. So what you choose to say and not say is something we're going to cover later. Okay, so just remember as you are doing the resume building later, focus on developing your sentences. Okay. The third one, by the end of this session, you would have gathered enough information to undertake a first pass resume that you can send out for your applications. Okay, so there are three objectives. Do consider the resume as a building process. Okay, and as part of this process, I've actually summed it up into 3 steps. The first step, which is a key step, is the R for reflect. Okay, so when you reflect, you should be reflecting on a few things. One is your past experiences. Okay, so experiences will come from a few areas, typically, right? So any past working experience, so that could be past internship, or could be a part-time or volunteer job, volunteer sort of situation. Okay. You also reflect on your learning content, things that you have covered inside your syllabus, for example, as well. Okay. Then you have your CCA, clubs and organizations, and the respective sort of responsibilities that you have held. Okay. Your reflection should essentially cover mainly things within your time in university. Of course, volunteering will be outside of uni. Yeah? So there's no real need to talk about things that happen in, let's say, your secondary school. Okay, so that's a far way off already. Okay. Reflection that is thorough will be helpful because then you can capture information that's going to be relevant that you need to let the employer know. So if your reflection is incomplete, then correspondingly your content may be missing something important. Okay, so spend some time when you are later on, okay, before let's say you have done up the resume, to think through again. Is there something else that I may have missed out, or maybe I thought was not important, okay, that maybe now I should include? So that is part of your reflection process. After reflecting, this is the stage where you start recording, which simply means to do up your resume. Okay. So some of you have shared your resumes, which are requested. Some of you haven't. Okay. So the main thing is that at whatever stage you are now, later on you're going to spend some time to do up your resume. Okay. So this class is actually interactive. Third one, review and discuss. So review and discuss ideally would be in a coaching appointment with me. So that's a 45-minute session. So right now it's actually done remotely. So there are 2 checkpoints where I would strongly recommend that so-called one-to-one review. Number 1 is when you are about to begin to start your internship applications. Okay, so that's a good time to make sure everything in the resume is in order. Second one is when you are starting to apply for your full-time graduate jobs. You should have that review session with me as well. Okay, so there are 2 checkpoints. Obviously, if there are other points in time that you need to have your resume reviewed, do also come forward. Okay, but those 2 are actually key checkpoints that you need to remember, okay, as part of the resume discussion. So your resume building is iterative, meaning that, for example, now already in this semester, a couple of weeks have passed, you would have started on, let's say, your coursework projects, your coursework, and maybe even some of your projects. Okay, so that's the present part. You can see that iterative. It tells your story. So it should indicate things you have done before, so in the past. So that is things in the past semesters. Present, so what you're doing currently but not completed, that also can be factored into your resume. Future is how you want your resume to be perceived. Okay, So the content in your resume serves to build a story. So when the reader reads your resume, based on the things you have done, maybe the different industries that you have been exposed to, they will form a picture of you. So that's the story part which I'm trying to say. And specifically, when regarding the part about future, then they will think, is this candidate someone we feel that will be of value to us in our organization, and maybe also will fit, okay, and stay with us for some time. So your resume serves to tell a story, okay, future perception that the employer may have of you. Master resume. So you probably won't have heard about this anywhere else if you attend workshops, but this is something I strongly recommend. That you have this template created as soon as possible. So your template will consist of all the things that you have ever done, all the projects you have ever done, all your work experiences, past, and of course things you're doing presently. So it's actually like a repository. You put everything there, and this master resume could come to maybe 3 or 4 pages. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so the key thing is that after you have done the reflection, you record it down and create your template. Okay, so when you start to apply, this is where you see the customized resume. For each application you send out, you should tailor it. So tailor meaning that you need to look at the job description, understand very clearly what the employer is asking for. And so that can be found in the qualification section. And then you customize your resume, displaying only what is relevant. Okay, so I think this part of answers one of the questions you mentioned earlier, how to make a resume stand out. Okay, so having relevant information is extremely important. So take note that employers don't have a lot of time when they read a resume. Maybe the most 1, 2, 3 minutes. Some people say less than a minute. So you can imagine if your resume is very, very lengthy, if your resume is too technical in nature, all right, the employer may lose interest. Okay, so that customization is something really essential. Resume themes. When you are writing your resume, ask yourself, what is the message I want to tell the employer? Okay, so this refers to an overall theme, or sort of a focus that you have tried to demonstrate in your document, resume document. Okay, so this allows the resume to understand a bit, the employer to understand a bit of your story, and where possibly you're heading to, okay, in terms of your career plans. So it's quite common that as a person doing up their resume, they may overlook this part about limiting yourself in your resume. So that what this means is that you are not actually fully expanding the scope and also the content in areas like your experiences and your accomplishments. Okay, so one example. If a student feels that he or she has got good leadership skills and want to demonstrate that, so in order to do that, then you need to recall that emphasis must be placed sufficiently on a breadth of areas, things like working on large projects, having led teams, or managing sensitive initiatives. Okay, so if any area is overlooked, then it could be that you are so-called not giving a complete picture to the employer. Okay. So the arrangements or the order of details are important, so we're going to come to that later. So drill down into your career history. So that's where your master resume is going to be helpful if you are wanting to make sure that your coverage is complete. Okay, so always tell yourself, don't sell yourself short. Okay, am I excluding something because I forget? Or am I excluding something because I did not consider or reflect sufficiently? Okay, so your focus needs to be present in your resume. So some key pointers when doing up your resume. So use reverse chronological resume format. So what this simply means is always start with the newest or the most recent, and then you move down to the older items. Okay, so that's what reverse chronological means. Sentences, keep them short. They always start with an action verb. Okay, so this one is non-negotiable. Starting with action verb. Okay, it's very common, when students write the resume, they don't use an action verb to start the bullet. Okay, so that's wrong. So this is something you must always keep in mind. Always start with an action verb. So use bullet points. Do not write in paragraphs. Okay, so each of your information you list down should be bulletized. Resume length, this is coming up more and more. I see more and more of these questions being asked by students. So sometimes it's confusing because if you attend some talks, employers may tell you another story. So just remember, essentially, your resume, you need to keep it to 2 pages maximum. Okay, maximum. If the job advertisement says that the employer is asking, please submit a 1-page resume, then you need to comply. Okay, so those are the things you need to remember. Your resume should not consist of tables or symbols or logos because employers, when you submit an application, typically, it will enter into an employer's human resource system. And in those systems, they have an applicant tracking system, it's called ATS, which basically is an algorithm that converts the resume document into text. Okay, so they use that then to so-called match it against the position that they have posted. Okay, so this algorithm does not read tables, symbols, or logos very well. So if you have tables and symbols or logos, you may run the risk of your resume being rejected. So avoid using these in your resume. Fonts, be consistent. I've mentioned 3 there. You can also use things like Times New Roman. I think that's also fine. Font size, I would recommend stick to 11. Okay, do not go anything smaller than 11. So spare a thought for the reader. So remember that when you send your resume, doesn't mean the person reading is going to read from their PC or their laptop. Okay, most of the time, they're going to print it out in a black and white hard copy. Okay, and font size 10 or smaller, it's going to strain a lot of people's eyes. Right? Font color, keep it black. Resume headings, employers, titles, and dates. So these can be all bold. I'm going to demonstrate this later. This allows quick scanning into the different sections, and you can extract the relevant information there. Character referees need not be included. Character referee are also known as character references. So these are not required to be put inside a resume. Anyone knows what a character referee or reference is? You can unmute and share. Anyone? You have heard of this? For those who have heard of it. Okay, so a character reference is quite important in the sense that when you're applying for a full-time job, okay, if the employer is keen on hiring you, before they send you the offer letter, there's normally one last stage, okay, that you need to clear. Right? They want to check, do a background check. So in order to do this, they will always ask the employer to provide them 2 references. Usually it's 2. Okay. So commonly what students provide are, number 1, your final year project supervisor. Okay, because you're FYP, you have been working extensively for 2 semesters. Okay, so FYP supervisor knows you well. The second source of your character reference would be your past internship supervisor. Okay, because obviously you would have worked many weeks, okay, on your internship job. So these 2 people are commonly what students provide to employers. So What this means is that please be on good terms with both your FYP supervisor and your internship supervisor. Okay, if you are wanting them to be your character referee in future. Okay, so if you're not certain that these people can give you a good word, please don't use them as your character referee. Okay, it may backfire against you. Document format, two formats to choose when you apply, Microsoft Word or your PDF. Profile picture not required. Okay, so if you really want to send one, please do a test print in black and white. Okay, to ensure that the contrast is okay and the face can be seen clearly. Okay, let me pause here. Any questions on this page? All good? Okay, I'll mark this page important. This goes back to sentence form. I've provided here two examples. So I'm going to read through them. First one, design a Mars rover to collect gold balls placed in a field using LegoCAD and program it utilizing Lego Mindstorm software, a team of 5. So first observation, you can see that this bullet, okay, or this item here consists of 2 lines. Okay, so your sentence in your bullets later on when you're working on them, you should make sure as much as possible that they consist of 2 lines. If your bullet in your resume is 1 line, likely it's too short, it's incomplete. Okay, you're lacking the information. So what are the things to consider in order for it to be complete? So again, you start with a verb. So design here, design is a verb. You have your impact or outcome. Okay, alternative description, this is called your achievement. Okay, so in this case, it's called Mars rover to collect gold balls, is your achievement. Okay, focus area means what is your whole activity about? What is this whole thing about that you're working on? So it's LegoCAD and program. Okay, scope. In this case, is if you're working in a team, we mentioned that. So here is team of 5. So you can see there are 4 elements or four parts to this sentence form. Example 2, collaborated with 20 volunteers for education awareness drive, involving 8 schools, semicolon here. Sensitize attendees on vocational skills, imparting computer training. Okay. So similarly here you start with a verb. Okay, so we collaborated. Okay. You have activity here. This is equivalent to your focus area in example 1. Okay. So activity here refers to the education awareness drive. So this is what, the whole thing that you're working. What is it about? It's about education awareness drive, the activity. Okay, so scope is mentioned. In this case, 8 schools. So the last item here is imparting computer training. Okay, so this is similar to here. Okay, outcome, or also known as your achievement. Okay, so when later you are doing your resume crafting, okay, please remember and come back to these 2 examples, because you can see there are 4 elements there. Okay, so if you have considered the 4 elements, all right, your bullet is going to be 2 lines. Your sentence is going to come up to 2 lines. So that's so-called a correct and properly written sentence structure. Okay. What is commonly missing in the bullets? So one thing is this one. Okay, the outcomes or the achievements. So very commonly, when people write resumes, they forget or maybe they do not know what is their achievement, so they leave it out. Okay, so this is something you guys need to think about later when you are doing the resume building to make sure that you have to state your outcomes. All right. Any questions on sentence form? So take note, because you're going to be using the approach here later when you are doing your resume crafting. All right, so I just want to touch a bit more about results and outcomes because it may be challenging sometimes, for one to figure out. Okay, I wrote the program, so I wrote it and it worked. So that's it. So what do you want me to write more about results and outcomes? Okay, so there are some things you can consider. So one of them, for example, is that to quantify it. Right, so there's you can show a number or a percentage. Okay, so if it cannot be quantified, then you can describe it in a qualitative manner. So there are two ways to describe the outcomes. So what are some examples or commonly areas which are involved when you talk about outcomes? So I mentioned some in this table here. So time savings, okay, accuracy improvement, error reduction, okay, productivity or efficiency gain, cost savings, then you make profit, applied innovation, or you have designed some or come up with something new, innovation, novel. Okay, combination of the above. So these are some, they are not all, but these are commonly, common themes with regard to outcomes. In addition, some examples of qualitative results. Okay, so you can see here, created a new product, program, document, or initiative. That's one. Design a new system or process. Okay, established framework or guidelines, processes, influence the team to perform or to conduct something. Okay, so these are also examples on how you can describe qualitative results. Okay, so keep this in mind when you're considering your results and how to talk about them. Some points to note regarding the transition to virtual or remote work. Okay, so you guys may have experienced it yourself, as it is, most of the classes are done remotely already. So employers are aware that being fully productive when working remotely is actually not easy. So these are some skills that have been identified. Okay, one, to have a mindset which is adaptable, right? Taking charge of a career during change. So this could be things like even like time management or taking online courses. So you manage and take control of by doing things that you can access and pick up on your own. All right, so taking charge of a career. The next four are remote related. So remote is also now actually a keyword because employers, when they post their advertisements, they may require or they may say someone who has experience working remotely. And these are some of the areas that remote self-management, remote personal branding. This means having a presence or a LinkedIn account. So if you guys do not have one, once your resume is done up, okay, make sure that you can use your resume as a reference, okay, to create your LinkedIn. Teamwork and collaboration. This is actually very important. Not everyone can do this well. So this is actually a very useful skill to have. Remote emotional and social intelligence, being able to connect with people while working remotely, or maybe even to detect something is not right, okay, with maybe a colleague, someone may be going through a tough patch. These are useful skills that can contribute to the effective workplace. Okay, some of these are overlapping. So first one, growth mindset. All right, being adaptable, caring for your teammates or your colleagues. Okay, managing up. This means trying to support your boss or your supervisor as much as you can. Things like proactively reporting any potential issue that you see coming up. Maybe if you are ahead of your work or you have made good progress, give regular updates to your reports. Okay? Extending means you have a skill that can help beyond, let's say, your immediate team, let's say to maybe even to other departments in the organization. That would be a good skill, especially if it's things like maybe you can automate some processes, can be used across the whole organization. So that contributes, that counts as extending, being able to extend your assistance. Okay. So we're going to go to the resume building process now. So what's going to happen from here onwards, and towards the last part, almost the last part of the class, is that you guys are going to be working actively on your resume. Okay, so what you can do now is pull out your resume document. I would expect it to be on Word. I think you guys most have used Word. Okay, pull out the resume document. And I'm going to go down the resume section by section. Okay, and for some sections, I'll tell you guys the instructions later. You guys need to apply, for example, the sentence form. And when you have done that, okay, paste that into the chat. Okay, so that's the interactive part where I'm going to help to review and give you the feedback, okay, as you're building your resume. Okay, so spend maybe 30 seconds to open up your resume document. Okay, you guys got quite good questions. Huh?
Thank you.
I'll try to address all your questions along the way, but please, if I have not answered you satisfactorily, please ask me that question along the way, before class ends. Okay, so let's proceed. So I guess you guys have your resume open. So the first section that you need to make sure is right is your personal particulars. So you can bold your name and capitalize your surname. So on second line, you make sure you have your mobile number. So put one mobile number only, and make sure you're contactable with that mobile number. Email address. Oh, I missed out this item just now under the key pointers. Email address, you can either use your school email, like what you see here, or you can use Gmail. Okay. So Gmail means if you use a Gmail, have it created your email name, something which is closely associated to your actual name, your actual name. So please don't use something fancy. If you got a fancy email name, keep it to more for social purpose. Okay, because you're going to use your email for professional communication. Okay, so you have two lines here. On the third line, what you can do is, let me get my pointer out. On the third line here, you can have your LinkedIn, okay, and your GitHub. Okay, so LinkedIn, please use, if you access LinkedIn, you can see a link. When you go inside LinkedIn, you can see what is your LinkedIn link details. So put it there. Okay. GitHub, when I say putting GitHub here means that you should be ready to have your GitHub open access. And the purpose is to use it as a portfolio for the employer to understand in more detail the projects you have done, because you can like maybe share part of your code there, and you can have maybe one page to describe what your project is about, what skills and technologies you have used, and what actually you have done, some highlights of your outcomes. Okay, so your GitHub, make sure that the content there corresponds with your contents in your resume. So that means that you've got project names or project description, project titles mentioned in your resume. Make sure you have the same one mentioned in your GitHub. because the employer may cross-reference. Okay, so they may see this project. It may look that you have acquired some skills, so they want to understand a bit more. They may go to your GitHub and look for it. Okay. I've seen some students, they embed the link. So each project, they embed one link. So like the whole document, maybe there are like 7 links. So they've got 3 projects there. Each project got 1 link. So please don't do that, because you cannot assume that the employer is going to click on your resume and then go to the link and look. Okay, so that's not the usual navigation process when employers look at your resume. Okay, they will probably, as I said, your resume will probably be looked at in hard document, right? And they may access directly into your GitHub separately and scan through any projects they want to see more about. Okay, so these are the content there that you need to have. So it should make up 3 lines. As I said, the third one, the LinkedIn and the GitHub is actually optional. Okay, any questions here? It's quite straightforward. Any questions on personal particulars? All good. Okay, I'm going to move to the next section. So the next part is your education. So I mentioned about bolding the section. So you can see here, your header name is education. Okay, so you can draw a line across. So this is a standard formatting in Microsoft Word. Okay, nothing special. You can do a shift tab to draw a line across, and if you hit enter, right, this nice line comes up. Okay, school name, make sure it's spelled in full. Okay, your dates, it's important that you put your expected end date, like this. Okay, don't put present. This is something quite commonly done. Okay, it's not really indicative, and it's not really useful, so you should put your expected end date there instead. So your first bullet should be your program of study. Make sure you get it right. Okay, so for you guys, it's Bachelor Engineering bracket Com Science or Bachelor Engineering bracket Com Engine. So those of you who are double degree, I'm not sure if any are double degree, so you need to make sure you put both your degrees down. Okay, so this one cannot have error, so make sure you state it accurately. So I've got 4 bullet points below there. Okay, this one is probably at a certain stage, later stage, you would likely be able to put it in. So this is when you have started your specialization. Usually it's in your, I think, 2nd sem of your 3rd year, or maybe your 4th year, when you have already done maybe 2-3 of your subjects. Okay, include your specialization there. Okay, 3rd and 4th is optional. Okay, the 3rd bullet is your honors. So the honors description or the honors naming convention has changed. So there's no more first class honors, upper, second lower. Okay, it's honors highest distinction, honors distinction, honors merit. Okay, I've appended a table with my documents. So again, my documents will be shared out with all of you later. At the back of my document is I've put out a so-called what are the latest convention for your honors categorization. You can put your GPA beside it. All right, but again, this bullet is optional. The 4th bullet here is achieve distinctions, more to demonstrate you have academic excellence in some particular subjects. You may just want to demonstrate it in this manner. Okay, so distinction is A+. Okay, the last one is essential. Okay, I would like all of you to include this in your resume. So relevant modules are modules which are relevant to the job scope. So firstly, look at the job scope, identify what the role is looking for, and then go back and see, okay, for your studies, which are the subjects, or your curriculum, which are the subjects which are connected, okay, to the job. Then you list down accordingly. Okay, so this is useful because at times you may not have the project experience, you have the content knowledge. which you have covered, okay, as part of your coursework. So please include these relevant modules. So obviously, if you're applying to different, especially to different types of jobs, okay, what you put here is going to be different. So you should be tailoring this fifth bullet point, relevant modules. Right? So that's for the NTU. Some of you may have studied in poly, okay, in the past. So for you guys who have completed your poly, please follow the same approach. Mention your poly name, then of course, comma Singapore. Mention your poly dates. Okay, start and end dates. And your first bullet will be your program of study. So please mention that. Okay. If you have relevant modules, so again, the concept is the same, but if you've got relevant modules that you have taken during your poly time, please list them down also. Okay, so you got your poly program and then relevant modules. Okay. For those who are in high school or through the JC route, okay, there's no need to put that in your resume. Okay. So the reason why poly students need to have this here is because if you went through poly, you would probably have done either an FYP or internship. Okay, so that information, your FYP or internship that you did in your poly, has to be included in your resume. Okay, don't forget. Okay, whether relevant or not is another story, because employers normally will ask you, what do you do in your poly for your FYP or for your internship? Okay, so you need to take note. That's why your poly details must put here. All right, so one more thing is useful is that for those who are doing PI in January, you may want to do this, write your internship availability. Do it in this manner and insert this line here just before education. You insert it here. So it's between your personal particulars and your education section. Insert your availability period. Okay, so this is helpful to let the employer know. All right, any questions on education? Okay, I'm going to pause, let you guys, yeah, go ahead, the question.
Yeah, hi, Professor. I would like to ask for this education section, right? Do we every time have to write all the schools that we attend before, like, okay, NTU confirm is a must of our higher education, but how about secondary school, poly, GC, or whatever?
Okay, poly, yes. So obviously, if you have gone to poly, you should put it there. JC and secondary school, all this, no need.
Okay.
Yeah, no need.
Okay.
Right. And by the way, I'm not a prof. Yeah, so that's me, prof. You can just call me Patrick. Okay, any other questions on education? If not, spend some time to make changes to your resume. I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes.
Oh,
to do up this part. If your education section is something different and you want to ask whether, should I write it or not, please sound out, huh? Please ask, huh?
Education, OS, educations,
So for PI, as you guys know, okay, if you're going for Gen PI, there are specific dates. So I think it's 6th of January, I can't remember. So you want to make sure that you mention a specific dates because that is something, it's a requirement, a school requirement. So you need to convey that to the employer. So what some students do is that they can actually work longer than 20 weeks. So let's say you can work until throughout June as well. You may want to extend this, you can put 24 weeks. So there's no harm there. Okay, so you're subject to your availability, but it has to be this 20 weeks, it must be, make sure you meet that. satisfy the requirements, okay, for your PI.
Shit, man.
Okay, as I go through the sections, it will be that you guys, some of you guys are already fine, some of you guys may be making the changes. Okay, so can I seek your help to just type into the chat? Okay, for each section that we go through, if you're fine with it, just type into the chat. I'm okay. All right. So if I see that most of you are okay with this section, then I'll move on to the next section. Okay. So I think we proceed that way is better. Okay. So 3 of you are okay, but I think some of you are still working on it. So just maybe wait a bit. So relevant modules. Okay, before I forget, so this is also quite useful. You can put your existing semester modules. No need to wait until finish. Why? Because by the time you actually intern in January, you would have finished already the module. And that module, for example, that you're doing now, it could be relevant or something useful that is being used in your internship. Okay, so use this advantageously to your advantage, the relevant modules. Okay, most of you okay, let's move on. All right, so this is the important section, and this is where you guys need to we come back to what we covered about sentence form. Okay. So the next section after education would be this section called academic projects. Okay. So this will be your header. School, you can just mention one time. You can see here. Okay, then you list there are three projects. Okay, this picture you can see. So when you list your projects, there are two things you need to remember. One is your project type. Okay, so final year project. Okay, so this is your course or your subject name, natural language project, data mining, and analytics project. Okay, so make sure you put your project type. Below your project type will be your title. So each of your project has a title listed down. Okay, so these 3 lines are all bold, or these 2 lines, okay, because your NTU is mentioned once only. So your project type and your title, you can bold it. Dates, make sure if it's ongoing, you can put the expected end date of your project. Okay, like this case, expected. Past projects, make sure you put the starting and ending date. How many projects to put in your project section? I think easily you guys can put maybe between 3 to 5 projects. Put easily, And what projects to list down? So this is where the relevance part becomes important. You don't need to put all your projects you have ever done. Right? You need to consider the role first. Look at the role and the requirements. Then from there you decide what are the projects you want to list down. Okay, so some considerations are use of language. So let's say you have done Python. Python, you can do it for computational, like data analytics sort of project. You can also use Python for scripting and application, let's say. So let's say if the role says, strength or ability in Python, then quickly you should insert all the projects you have done in Python. That's how you should be thinking. Then the subject matter side, let's say if you're applying for analytics position, then obviously whatever project you have done where you work on data, okay, list them down. If it's an application, whether it's web or mobile, then of course you list down the corresponding projects you have done. Okay, so this is how you consider. Always go back to the job posting, okay, for your clue, okay, on what employer wants to see from you. I'm going to go through again quickly sentence form. So I want you guys to pay attention here. Let's say I take the second project. Okay, so again, you can see starting with your verb. So please remember this. Okay, you can see all your bullets start with a verb. All right. So you got a verb, and then you've got your focus area. So in this case, focus area is what? Consumer product reviews. All right, and then you have got, in this case, scope is not there. Okay, you have got your results, outcomes. So this is a qualitative one. Okay, your outcomes, you can also mention as a statement. So like you see this one, achieve accurate static object detection and collision avoidance. So you talk about your outcomes by stating it in a sentence like this. Okay, this is something also useful. Complete it within 4 months despite being new to robotic programming. Okay, this is something which demonstrates that you are able to pick up and utilize skills quickly. All right, so you can also use this approach, okay, when you are, maybe you're stuck on what you talk about your achievements. So this aspect about being a fast learner, you can use it to talk about your as an achievement. Okay. So two approaches. The last one is more a qualitatively approach. Okay, it says here with relatively good accuracy. I don't know if you guys whether it's being blocked. Okay, the last line there. Okay, relatively good accuracy. Okay, so that's a qualitative mention of an achievement. Okay, so you can see there are three approaches to talk about achievement in this example here. You state it out like this in a sentence. You use a quantitative description, or you can use a qualitative description. So programming languages, if you have used it to code or to script, make sure you mention. Like here, you can see Python is mentioned. The first one, right? So Python is mentioned. All right, so you mentioned Python. All right. Again, second one is being mentioned.
Excuse me.
Yep.
No, sorry. Your taskbar is blocking the slides.
Oh, my taskbar is blocking the slides. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Thanks for saying.
It's okay.
The view. Discard the view. Maybe this will help. Is it better now? Is it better? Okay, yeah. Okay, where was I? Okay, so I mentioned programming languages. So make sure if you have used a language, make sure you mention it down. Things like applications or packages, you can also mention down. Also, tools and applications. So the third one, there was no programming. It's more analytics, and there were tools. The Tableau was used and Excel was used. Okay, so you make sure you mention down. Okay, so remember to indicate if you have done, if you use languages or you use particular applications. Okay, state it inside your bullet point. Okay, some students, what they do is they mention they write very nicely, but the language has been omitted, or maybe the tool application has been omitted. So they only put that in the skills section. So that's not really very impactful. Because you want to make sure that when the reader knows it, when they read the details, they also know how challenging or how complex your project is, and then they can get a sensing on your ability in using a language, okay, by looking at the details. Okay, so you should always connect state, right? Your languages or your tools that you have used. Okay, so let me pause here. What I need you guys to do is now go back to your resume, enhance your sentence using what we discussed as a sentence form approach. And I want you to cut and paste after you have improved your sentence, cut and paste into the chat. Okay, so what you cut and paste should include your project type,
Set up environment using
project
Docker.
title, and at least one bullet point of your improved sentence, okay, where we have discussed, okay, and of course your dates. Okay, so please work on that now. Maybe spend the next 10 minutes at least, okay, do your changes in your current resume and then paste it into the chat box.
Utilize
Meanwhile, if you've got any questions on the projects, academic project section, please sound out if you have a question.
the libraries. You know.
It would be good if what you paste into the chat box, I think bullets would be good, okay, because then in your second bullet, the second bullet ideally is when you talk about your PhD here. Right, the second bullet is utilized to
I'm sorry, is there a limited number of bullets for each project?
yeah, that's a good point raising up. I would recommend keep it to 2 or 3 bullets. So don't go anything more than 3 bullets. All right? So 2 or 3 bullets. And a number of projects that you should be able to list down to I think anywhere between 3 to 5 projects. Okay? Not more than 5 lah. I think more than 5 would be too much really, I think. If you're not sure the sentence form, please don't hesitate to ask. Okay, you want to clarify something. But I think the main thing is when you paste your sentence into the chat, I think that's when we can go through it. Okay, we can discuss about it. Right, so please make your attempt to walk through your sentences and paste it into the chat.
Facial recognition pipeline and master and faster. Pipeline. to train models and improve. Leveraging threats to what's the word to improve image pre-processing speed and model speed. Constructed a facial recognition pipeline leveraging the toolkit parallel threads to improve the speed.
Okay, when you've done up your sentence, you can paste it into the chat. Okay, don't worry too much about it being perfect. Okay, so the objective is so that we can review it together, and then after the class itself, then you guys know how to sort of enhance, okay, and improve your sentences, right? So that's the objective. Okay, so Jia Shen, thank you. So let me take a look here. Okay, so final year project title. Okay, dates, all right. Constructed. Okay. Okay, so obviously not finished yet because we just started in last month.
Yeah.
So first one, is this already completed? Because you use past tense here. Jashan?
Not
it
really.
So you put construct, okay, put construct. Okay, so you use
It's
past
like
tense
half
means,
done.
okay, so you can put construct, so remove the ed here, construct.
Okay.
Second bullet, I think you have opportunity to improve it. Set up the environment using Docker and utilize Python libraries. TensorFlow. Okay, so quite technical, this bullet. Can you elaborate something about the nature, or something related to the project to connect the environment?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Any programming language involved? Okay, Python libraries is there.
Yeah.
Python, okay, all right. TensorFlow, okay. So what changes did you make? What was your sentence like prior to the change? Can you just share? Or rather, what changes did you make to this?
Okay.
Jashan?
Yeah. I pasted it in the chat. The second one was the one before.
Oh, okay, all right.
Mm.
Okay, so you have made the changes. Okay, good. Surprising, okay. Yep.
Let's go.
Okay, so you have left out some of these technicalities. I think that's fine. Okay, don't have your sentences too technical. Okay, so you can see the examples, because you need to cater to the readers of a resume. Okay, so the HR may be lost. You don't know what's going on if they read your resume. On the other hand, when the hiring manager reads it, the hiring manager may want to know more details. So your sentence must be a balance, a good balance, but not too overly technical. Okay, just remember that.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm hoping everyone will work on theirs and paste into the chat, please, so we can go through it. We have got time. Okay, there's no rush. We got enough time.
Div 5. What? So, nation initiative. Cyber. Build over application showcasing different. This is the name. Oh, fuck me. Yeah, did now what for did? Developed. Overall in charge. Overall in charge. Responsible. I think it's a duty.
Okay, so hope all you guys are trying to work on your sentences. So, and have it pasted into the chat.
Okay. Developed with develop as a did full-time developer. So build a web application that can should be Singapore developed with my role was a full stack developer.
Okay, Kai, I see yours.
Full stack.
Okay, Kari, your dates are not there. You need to include your dates. I'm not seeing your dates there. Let me go through your bullet points.
Responsible did my did I did
Okay, your first bullet looks fine. Implemented vendor for reversal. Okay, it looks fine, your sentences. What changes, what was it like before you made the changes, Kai?
I didn't change anything.
Did you change anything? So you already sort of knew the approach.
Yeah.
How about
Because
your
I used the online thing before, the mock.
VMOC? Okay, let
Yeah,
me
the
take
mock.
a look. VMOC, let me take a look at your achievements again. What part are your achievements that you've described? So which parts is it that talks about the achievements?
I think second point.
Second point, All right, this one, models prediction accuracy. Okay.
completed a project.
So the dates is missing, so you include the dates there.
Worked on.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Chinwon, thanks for that. So also your dates are missing. Okay, Chinwon, your second bullet, you need to change it. So it should be starting with action verb. So I think currently that's not the case. Okay, so you're saying here, program was able to, so make the changes here. So what you can do is maybe you can revise it to accurately allocated. Okay, or allocated accurately students to the courses. Okay, so that's how you can make the change. So you always need to start with a verb. Okay, so I can change allocated accurately. Okay, students to the courses. And provided their feedback using email notification. Okay. Jia Ying. Before that, Chinwon, are you okay? Okay, all right. Jia Ying. Okay, built a new web application. Integrated machine learning models to facilitate. Okay, fine. Looks good, Jia Ying. What was your sentences before making changes? Maybe just talk through some of the changes or the enhancement that you made to your sentence.
The website.
Added the languages used.
Sorry?
I added the languages used.
Okay, all right, that's good. Okay, thanks for that. Okay, so some of you have not submitted yours, so I'll just wait a bit more. Okay. If you have, for those who have submitted, if you want me to look through another of your sentence, maybe from another project, please paste it in.
Let's go.
Or if you got a question,
Developed.
Okay, please ask. Okay. So while we are waiting, also please note this is academic project section. Any of you got personal projects? So that could be things like code competitions, hackathons, datatons. If you are into cybersecurity things like capture the flag, anyone? Okay, so if you are doing some of this external stuff, so these are actually not external, not academic projects. So what you can do is you can have a new section, call it personal projects. Okay, so that personal project section, you can follow and adopt the same approach. Okay, you got your project type. So let's say Shopee Code Challenge. or Shopee Hackathon. Then you got your title. Title is normally the problem that you are given as part of your competition. Title, and then use 2 bullet points, likewise, to describe and to share what was done. Okay, so that's under a personal project section. That's quite common. I know you guys do take part in some external competition and stuff like that. Anyone has an issue having maybe at least 3 projects in their academic project section? You guys think you can do that? Can you guys find when you're going to submit your resume? Do you feel that you can at least have 3 projects there? Will be okay? Yep. Okay, so for those that have not pasted, please continue to work on your sentence and do paste it there. At the same time, I'm going to move ahead, all right, to the next section. So any questions on projects? Not going to move on. Okay, so the next key part of your resume will be your work experience. So you can see on this slide here, there are actually 2 experiences there, right? So the first one is an ongoing. It is a part-time job in one of the offices in NTU. So in this case, it's the development office. Okay, so you have the organization first. That's the first thing you need to mention. The company, and then your dates, and then job title. Okay, and then the nature of employment. So this is important. So part-time, you need to put part-time. Second one is intern. Make sure you put intern. All right, so you need to put the nature of your employment terms. So again, your bullet points, there's no change to the approach of your sentence structure. Okay, so even you can see in this case, there's some indication of the achievements. Okay, let's go to the second one here. Okay, so drive down processing time by 70%. Okay, so in this case, there are 3 bullet points being used. Okay, so focus area, customer service, IT department. So always remember to make sure you put your activity or your focus area here. Okay, so again, you can sort of talk about or demonstrate that you are able to do things and complete tasks in a timely manner, in a fast manner. So it says here, within 5 months, develop within 5 months from scratch. This is something useful, a technique that you can consider. Okay, so if you're working on business requirements, so this is something very common because before you start an activity, you need to go through requirements or maybe gather requirements. So make sure you state some of those things here, like here you can see. Perform requirements analysis of business problem. And then design a basic template. Okay, you can also put who are the people that you interact with. So this is another approach to enhance your sentence. Okay, so as mentioned here, interacting with the consulting managers and supervisors. All right. So work experience would also things you may have done part-time before. Okay, so this is something which comes up very commonly where students are unsure whether a part-time stint, for example, anything between 1 to 3 months, whether it is relevant or not. Many times students will say, it's not relevant, so I didn't put it there. Okay. So any sort of part-time work you have done where you have to interact with customer. So it could be, for example, a call agent or customer service role where you either manage calls or it is a desk job where you need to talk to customers. Okay, or could be even working in as a barista, working as a retail assistant, where there's communication with customers. So those experiences are certainly relevant. So don't feel that it's something you want to leave out. So when you put those things down, you can use some keywords like customer service. So perform customer service duties, okay, including handling queries, okay, clarifying whatever, or responding to questions, or maybe locating instructions, providing instructions, okay, stuff like that. Okay, so these are things which are useful if you have done some of this part-time before. So do include it in your resume. All right, for guys, NS generally not required. So when I say generally not required, meaning that if you have done the traditional sort of vocation stuff, no need. However, if during your NS you have done something like a project, which may be technical in nature, let's say you do some analytics, or you did maybe some web application, or even a website. All these would be a different thing. So these are, if you did that during your NS, you may want to put it down. Okay, your usual vocation stuff, you don't need to mention it. All right. Any questions on this section? So for those who don't have work experience, is it a problem or not? Answer is no. All right. So obviously, some of you may not have worked before. There's nothing wrong. So the only thing you need to do is that try and enhance your other parts of your resume. Okay. Employer won't penalize you if you've not worked before. But as far as possible, your resume should be relevant, right, in all sections. So that's where the approach that we covered is going to be very key. Okay, any questions? We need to spend some time to look at Jiaxuan's. So missing there project, a software engineering project, right? So include the word project there, Jiaxuan. So spelling, take note of spelling, can donate, all right?
Oh, shit.
So maybe you want to include your language here. So what is the language here? JavaScript, for example, build a web application in or using, then mention the language. Or maybe mention your second point really. Okay. All right, that's fine. Thanks. Any questions or work experience? Okay, I'm going to move on. Leadership and CCA. All right, so the formatting mentioned like this. Okay, leadership and co-curricular. State your club, society, organization, or if it's a hall, mention first. Okay, don't use acronym, although my example here is using acronym. Okay, so you spell it in full. All right, then the dates. Okay, a title. Take note that it is not a requirement that the CCA has to be a post that you're holding a title. Even as a member, you can contribute, all right? Even as a member, you can demonstrate leadership skills by contributing effectively, your resources, your time, your ideas. Okay, so many students are mistaken that leadership means that you need to have a title, like vice president or chairman or whatever. It's not true. All right, so leadership can exist in all tiers or all levels, okay, that you are participating in. So in this case, there are 4 bullets, and you can see again where you can leverage and talk about your achievements, okay, quantify them even in case you state it now. Okay, so if you have got multiple CCAs, this happens quite a bit. Students may be involved in many things. How many CCAs should you put? So I don't really recommend you list down all your CCAs. Okay, I would think maybe at most 2 CCAs should be enough. So you guys may want to challenge me on that. If you think that you want to put more CCAs, maybe you can discuss this. But usually, I think 2 CCAs would be sufficient. So CCAs typically can demonstrate a few things. One is things organizational skills, okay, program or project management skills, or you are engaged with external parties, collaboration skills, team working skills. So that's the purpose when you list your CCA, to use some of these keywords, okay, to state some of the skills that you have acquired. Okay, so there are many more soft skills most of the time. All right, anyone has questions on CCA? Any questions? All good. Okay, let me move on then. So this is the last section in the resume, skills and interests. All right, so always have your languages. Okay, no need to mention proficiency. Just state them. Programming. So these are all those that you that you code in. Okay, so don't worry about proficiency again. Just list everything down. What you may want to do is order them in terms of what you feel you're strongest in. Say Python and Java, you feel you're best in that. You can just put it down in order. Okay. The third one are also technical skills, but they're not programming. They are more applications, frameworks, and libraries. So all those you can list down here. All right, so if you're doing things like maybe cybersecurity or data science, there could be different frameworks and libraries there. So you can list them down here. Okay, online courses, you can mention it like that. Okay, so state, extract the actual course name. So that's important. And then who is the course provider. External certs, you may have acquired a cert, let's say during your poly days. Okay, there may be some cert that you have to take. Okay, these are more classroom, physical based sort of conducted classroom physical based. So list them down under external certs. Other skills, these are useful to let the employer know. These are meeting, so-called meeting and collaboration, virtual software. Okay, so sometimes the employer may ask, okay, do you know how to use Zoom or not? Do you know use software? So, or even project management software. Okay, you may want to put it there. Okay, so this covers your skills. I left out interests. So interests and hobbies are the same thing. Okay, so you can certainly put it there. Some employers may want to see your interests, some employers may not. So there's no harm listing them down. Right, but if you wish not to include, it's also okay. All right. So that covers the skills and interest section. So I've essentially gone through the structure already. Anyone has something in his or her resume which I have not touched on that you may want to talk about? Anybody? Okay, there's one section which I see quite a bit in resumes, achievement. Anyone has got a question on that? Where to put achievements? Anybody? Okay, achievements, normally you can insert it in the respective section. Let's say you took part in a competition or your project, you came in first prize. Use one bullet to mention it there. If it's an academic achievement like a scholarship, you can use that bullet under your education section. Okay, so most of the time, your achievement section, you can actually shift it to the respective area which is connected to the achievement. And I feel okay, there's no real need to have an achievement section. Okay, but if you really want to, maybe you got a lot of awards, and you feel it's useful to let the employer know that you are, someone who has excelled in certain things, then by all means, okay, have an achievement section. All right. So these are some things that you want to consider. Okay, alternative approaches. Okay, so I see someone, Singwei, is trying to type something, so I just wait for your entry first. It glitched. What glitched? Okay, Singwei, can you clarify what is it that you wanted? Okay, let me now share on the screen how the complete document looks like. Did you guys see? Can? So I'm sharing the actual resume now. Just now you saw it in sections. Okay, so this is how the actual resume looks like. So font size is 11. You can see the margin. The margin here is already quite optimized already. It means on the right hand side already very narrow. Okay, don't go any narrower. Left side, try and keep a bit more space. Why? Because the company may need to print out your resume and then they need to file it into your folder, hard copy filing. Okay, so you don't want when you're doing the punching to remove some of your content there. Okay, so you can see when the document is bold in the respective sections, it actually looks quite nice and you're able to extract the sections there. Bullet points all nicely aligned. All right, your dates also nicely are justified to the right hand side. Okay, so if you look at this particular, so this is actually a year 4 version of your year 4 student version. So you got 3 projects, 2 work experience, 1 CCA, and in terms of resume length, you can see it's just overflows into page 2. All right. So one also observation is that there's very little white space. So you can, if you note that the line spacing in between sections and also within sections, this is like half line spacing. So between the 3 projects, you're only using a half line spacing. Okay, between sections, you can have a 1 line spacing. So I leave it to you whether you want to do it this way. I've got some feedback that said this is actually very cramped. It looks very cramped. Okay, personally, I find it okay. So it's your choice. If you want a bit more white space, go ahead. But don't have too much white space. Okay, because for one, it's going to you're going to consume your resume, make it longer. Right? And if there's too much white space, also I find the flow when I read can be quite disruptive. Okay, any comments on the resume appearance? Anyone? Okay, so let me go back to my slides. I'm going to shift the topic now to something else. So obviously I've covered what constitutes the structure and good sentence form. So the next part is how to make a resume effective and stand out. Some of you have already asked that. Okay, so one key thing to note is you need to align to the job description. Okay, so there's no way to escape this. Okay, and this requires your time and commitment. So you need to understand the role. Okay, go through in any job, there are 2 main sections. One is the duties and the tasks. Below that, normally you see the qualifications and the requirements. Okay. Qualifications and requirements, sometimes if the employer is detailed or the employer is someone who has planned their JD well, they may say must-haves, good to have. Okay, you may have seen some postings, they show must-have, good to have. So those are clues for you already. So must-haves, obviously then, as far as possible to be considered, you should have that. Okay, and that also helps you to focus on what you want to say, the amount of content. So the must-have part, let's say strong in Python or strong in data analytics, analyzing data. So then your resume, you should plan accordingly to make sure all the things you have captured as much as you can, based on your experiences, address this part that the employer wants to see. All right. So at the end of the day, you have done as much as you can. You are aligned with the job description. How do you know how your resume stands out? So there's this tool called JobScan. Okay, so I talked about keywords just now, right? So each application has a keyword. Each JD has a keywords. There are keywords rather, and also your own resume has got a lot of keywords there. Okay. So when HR systems, when they align their algorithm, what they do is that for each different role, okay, they will enter the JD, okay, for that role. So, and what happens is that when the applicants submit, they will actually process by extracting the content from the resume, the Word or PDF document, and do a keyword match. Okay, so let's say there are 80 keywords there in the job posting. Then they will do a search and match how many keywords are found in the resume. Okay, and that will come out with accuracy, a match accuracy. So that's how the resumes are then categorized. So the employer will then use this system, this algorithm, to decide, okay, we are going to only call 20 candidates for interviews. Okay, so the algorithm already sort for them already. So let's say there are 100 people apply for the job. The top 20, based on the keyword accuracy, okay, will be called for the interview. The remaining 80 candidates are all, okay, eliminated. Okay, so this is how employers save their time, so to say. They shorten the whole recruitment process by using algorithms and by using that to eliminate candidates. Okay, so to knowing this, you should then prepare your resume by considering keywords and optimizing your keywords. So there's this software called JobScan. So let me run a demo, a quick one. Once you guys go in, you guys can use it. It's quite intuitive. So just search JobScan. You search JobScan, you'll come up to this site. So over here, you can actually register. Okay. You can sign up by using a Gmail. Okay, that gives you, I think, maybe about 5 to 10 tries, I'm not sure. Okay, so you can see what it does. It so-called optimizes your resume, so it simulates the ATS, HR algorithm. So let's say you've got your resume ready, you've got a JD, okay, you're going to apply already. So before you apply, run this step first. So upload your resume. So I'm going to take the JD you saw just now, the resume that we have been working on. So just simply a matter of copy and pasting. All right, so I copy out the text. All right, so you can see upload your resume. You can also actually paste as text. Okay, paste as text. So I paste it here to the box. Okay, so it all goes there. Next, add a job. So I've got this job which I put up. It's just a random job, but it's data science. Okay, so this is data engineer. So when you upload it, you can either upload the whole PDF. In this case, I'm just going to copy and paste. So as I mentioned, these are the two key sections. We just copy and paste over. Okay. Paste over into the box. Okay, so next one is just view result. So it actually just runs, scans your resume. Okay, so this is the match rate. So this is where the part which is important for you to see. So the keyword match rate is only 27%, which is pretty low actually. If you use JobScan, they're actually recommending 80% or above. Personally, I feel this is very high. If you can meet 80% above, you are definitely a very good fit for the role already. Okay, I would like to lower that to maybe 50%. Okay, I'm not saying it's a hard and fast rule, but you may want to set your own gauge. I feel 50% or more match rate would be sufficient for you to be, tell yourself, okay, I can submit my resume. I think this I've met your keywords requirement. So when you look at this, when you do a first run, then the thing is to go look at the data, which they will show you what are the keywords which have a match, what are the keywords which are missing. All right, so it shows you that the job description here, so these words like vendor, scripting, big data, all these are all found in the JD, but resume don't have. Okay, this fourth one got database appears, so the number here means the number of occurrences. Okay, so database is a match, means it's found both in the resume and the job posting. So use this, and then you can use this to then tweak your resume again. So let's say, okay, vendor, I've actually worked with vendors, but I've not mentioned it. So you add this into your resume. Maybe you want to put writing skills, okay? Use the word writing. So that gives you one additional keyword that matches. So soft skills likewise. Okay. So by doing this repeatedly a few times, you can actually up your hit rate. So do that as best as you can. Right? You can't keep doing it, but if you feel, okay, this is the best I can, then at least you can rest assured that you try to optimize your resume. Right. Then you can go ahead and send your resume in. Okay, so this is the tool called JobScan, and internships, I do not know how widely the companies do it. A full-time job for sure. Almost many companies really are using this this ATS algorithm to read and process your resume. So don't lose out, please. Okay, use the free tool JobScan for you to optimize your keywords as much as you can. Okay, so let me move ahead with my slides. I've actually gotten to the last bit of my slide. So if you're still unsure what are keywords, I think the JobScan shows you already. Okay, so take note that keywords are essential. So when you want to ask how do I make my resume stand out, then the answer is keywords. All right. So next steps after today's class, if you feel that you really want to have a 45-minute to discuss in detail your resume, including maybe some of your selections, or you have some direction in your career, you can always book an appointment. Okay, so the link is here. All right, so I will need you guys to give me feedback. I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat, okay, for your feedback. Okay, there are a few other slides which I want to share you, which are important. So, okay, so these are some of the classes which I'm running, which is ongoing. So I've got a session here, Careers in ICT. So this is useful. In this session, I actually expose the students to what are the different areas, what are the different possible job roles, and the skills which are in this Infocom sector, okay, which are obviously connected to what a comp science student can do. Okay, so you may want to expand your understanding, and when you see this session, which I'm going to share out, I think in the next week or two, the link for that, you may want to join this class. Interview, you can do it in small groups, or you want to have a one-to-one session. So this is not a technical interview, it's more a HR interview to prep and go through that you are in the right direction when approaching certain responses. Okay. Self-assessment, if you are interested to understand things like your career values, your motivated skills. Okay, that we have, we have this so-called virtual card sort, where using the card sort, you can actually get a report. So that report may be useful because it helps you to maybe align your direction, focus on where you want to look for roles. Because companies also have things like values and mission. Okay, so you want to align that, these are what's important for me and these are being found in the company as well. Okay, then one-to-one coaching. And these are informal forum sessions that I hold for students to meet up and chat on certain topics. Okay, so I've got the honors classification. So I've attached this. So please do not use the first class, second class. So that's no more. So you got to use the one on the left side here. Another one useful is action verbs. So don't repeat the same action verbs. So sometimes, quite commonly, we get students who say develop, repeated 3-4 times. Look at a category and then decide, okay, if I want technical skills, let's say beside develop, what else can I use? Can I say design or device? Maybe program. Okay, so things like that. Use this to so-called employ a broader range of different verbs. Okay, last but not least, I've got this link here. So you can actually click on the link to access some sample resumes for different job scopes. It shows you the before and the after, how the resume has been crafted, okay, to so-called shift the focus to improve the message. Okay, so do take note. You can take a look here. I've actually attached it there so you can click and access the data. So this particular woman, Gail, she has also published a very useful technical interview, coding test, cracking the coding interview. Okay, I think they have copies in our NTU library. If you are into software engineering, obviously you're practicing to lead code, etc. But you may want to check out her book. Yeah, I think it's quite hot, the book. You can search from her name and source out the book. Unfortunately, they don't have, the library doesn't have a virtual or online soft copy. I think it's a hard copy only. Or if you want to buy it as well, okay, you can consider. Okay, so that comes to the end of my sharing. I'm going to just type the chat for the feedback to help me to click and complete that. And again, as I mentioned, we can continue the engagement. All right, either you can do two things. You can redo your resume, modify it through what we covered in the class. Email to me, and I'll try as fast as possible to review and then reply to you my feedback by email. That's one way. Other way is to book a coaching appointment where we can have dedicated time to talk. Okay, for 45 minutes. Okay, so there are two approaches there. All right, so I'm going to leave this last part. We got about 6 minutes for Q&A. All right, I may have not addressed your question directly, and I apologize. So if you have a question that you had in mind in the start, you can ask me now. Okay, so take the chance. Anyone? Anything? Any questions related to PI? Oh, the second round already, is it? Not sure what is the state of your PI now. Got 3 rounds, right? You guys know, right? Is it in first round or second round now? Has the second round started? No. Who's also doing self-sourcing for their PI? Are you guys doing self-sourcing? Show me by a nod of a head. Okay, so this may not have been covered during the briefing, but please do self-sourcing. Don't wait for in place. All right, firstly is because you guys have 5 chances. Okay, of course, we are all hopeful, including me, that employer will respond to you and give you an interview. But sometimes employers are slow. Sometimes students don't even get a response. So if you're only depending on in place and come to 3rd round, then you start to panic. Oh, no time already. Okay, no interview.
Oh.
So don't wait. Go ahead and do your self-sourcing. For self-sourcing, there are a few good places. Let me just type here that you can go to look. So one thing is our CAO portal, Career Exist portal. Okay. And I'm going to type a few more useful ones that you guys can go to. Okay. So of course. Yeah, there. So if you go to this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think more you can find more than enough jobs already for your search, for your self-source search. All right, so don't limit to one. Things like what's that called? I can't remember. There's one very common website that students go to, but I don't actually recommend that one. JobStreet. Okay, personally, I would not recommend JobStreet lah. I'm not saying it's bad, but if you ask me to rank it, I think these are more useful websites. Okay. Any last questions? You're not going to give me back a couple of minutes and we wrap up the session. Anyone? Okay, if not, then thanks for your time, and I hope you picked up something useful. So again, stay in touch if you want to, ask me any question through email, or you want to book an appointment. And the last thing is I'm going to stay online for 5 more minutes. So for those who want to leave, please go ahead and leave. If you have a personal question to ask me, you may want to stay to the end, so I can address your question. Okay, take care, guys, and that's all. You can log off. All right, bye-bye.